Alright, so today we're going to start our project, and I want you to pick 3 shapes from what we practiced and turn them into a picture. So looking at this, I immediately think about the cone, and I think ice cream cone. So that's going to be my first shape. Then the ice cream that's sitting in the cone, I'm going to use a sphere for that. So then I just need one more shape. And since we're going with like that food theme, I think I'm going to use a cylinder to make a can of soda. So I'm going to start by making my cone shape and then putting my sphere inside of my cone. Now I'm going to add some extra details to make this look more like ice cream. Now I'm going to make my cylinder for my soda. Now when drawing certain things, you may have to find a reference. So that could be something that's in your house, or you could Google like my can of soda. I could Google a can of soda if I don't have one at home. So looking at an image of a soda can, I notice that the top kind of goes in, then out again. Right at the very top. And it does that on both sides. And the bottom does that same thing where there's kind of a curved line in, and that extra little bottom there. Now I'm going to turn this into my own can of soda instead of copying a different one. Alright, and then I have to add something to kind of ground these things. They shouldn't just be floating in the air. So I'm making a line across my paper, and now I'm going to add the shadows for my objects. So I started with the shadow for my cone, and then I'm going to do a rounded part for the sphere part. And then I think the shadow is going to take up this entire area here. For my can of soda, same thing. I'm going to go out and back, and there we go. Now you're going to grab your colored pencils or crayons to show the value. Now I suggest using colored pencils because they're a little bit easier to work with here. We can use an eraser with colored pencils to lighten them up, but the eraser doesn't really work with crayons. So for the cone, I picked these 2 browns. So I have a regular brown here and a lighter brown here. So I can use this for the darker side and this for the lighter side. I've decided that my light source is going to be in the bottom left corner here. So that means that right here is going to be darker. I think I'm also going to go over my cone details, those little lines there, with my dark brown. Alright, and now I'm going to create my gradient. Starting from dark, away from the light source, and then lightening up as I get closer to my light source. Alright, so I think I'm done with my regular brown. I'm going to switch to my light brown now. And to make these blend more easily, I'm going to make sure that I put a layer of this brown right on top of that other brown. Then I'm going to make sure that I'm getting lighter and lighter as I'm getting closer to that light source. Now for the ice cream, I'm going to make it strawberry ice cream. So I want different shades of pink. Red is the darkest version of pink. Then I kind of have this middle pink color, magenta. And then I have just a classic pink color. So I'm going to use all 3 of these to create my ice cream. So I'm just going to ignore this bottom portion for right now. That was what I added to my sphere. I'm just going to focus on this and pretend that it's a full sphere for right now. Now I don't want to use too much of the red because I still want it to look mostly pink. Kind of just want it to begin that gradient for the darker areas. So I'm going to move on to my next darkest color, the magenta. Just going to layer that right on top so then they blend together nicely. then I'll start making that gradient out. Now remember, my light source is down here. So up here is going to be the darkest, and it's going to be lightest right about here. Taking my last pink, the lightest one, to finish it up. I'm going to erase that gray line there. I don't really want that in my ice cream. Alright, so now I'm going to focus on this bottom portion here. I want to make a shadow, since this is beaming up this way. There's going to be a shadow behind this line. Then I'm going to add a shadow on the farthest side. And some shadows wherever I think there's going to be a 3D area. So I think I'm going to treat these as if they're almost finished spheres. That's a tongue twister. Now, if at any point you want to add a shine to something that you think would be a little bit more shiny, you can leave an area white, or you can take an eraser and make a little shine area. Alright, so for the shadow, first I want to think about what color I'm going to make the surface that it's on top of. Now I don't want to use brown for mine because I already used brown in the cone. I don't want that to kind of fall behind or go missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very lightly color the areas that are not the shadows with my blue, and then really darkly I'm going to color in the shadows. Alright, now I'm going to do my soda, and I'm going to pick out black and gray, and then I think I also have a lighter gray, so I'll use that too. Black being the darkest area of my can. Remember, my light source is in the bottom left corner here, so my darkest area is going to be here, and my second darkest area is going to be here. And with a cylinder, we need to make a gradient going this way. This is going to be our lightest side. I'm going to take my medium shade here and fill in the top part. Then I think I'm going to make the soda tab just a little bit darker so it stands out. Alright, so you may have noticed that I did not add any shading to this part, and that's just because I want this to be a different color. I still want to follow that gradient though, so I gotta be careful. Now I'm going to finish up by making my background.